Get ready. It's time for a Sermon Sketchnotes Community Member Spotlight with your host, Raven Henderson. Recorded live in front of a Facebook audience. This is your group, and we're about to meet yet another awesome person in our family. Community Member Spotlight starts now.
All right. Well, welcome. Sorry for the I need to get one of those bars, the screens with the red, green, yellow, and you know what I'm talking about when the TV goes haywire. Maybe.
I do understand, absolutely. Because otherwise you can see yourself but can't see what other people are able to see. But anyway, here we are now. It's great.
Yes. All right. So cool. So everyone that's here right now or joining in later, this is Reverend Paul Joy. He is serving as a chaplain at
Yarra Valley Grammar.
Yes, in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
So isn't that so neat? And he's got 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls, ages 12, 10, and 6. And he's just going to tell us, and he's married to a woman named Sharon, which I assume she is wonderful because Paul's pretty cool. And yeah. So tell us about how you got started in sermon sketchnoting.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me and spending a few moments with me. I'm really excited to be here. Sermon sketchnotes for me is currently where I'm up to, but obviously the journey started a long time ago. I got stuck right into Miracle Morning. So this is a book by Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning, and basically it transformed my morning routine, my quiet times in the morning, following some of the principles in this book. And it helped me establish a regular routine of gathering together for my quiet time. Part of that also talks about words of affirmation, and I would often use Bible verses as part of that. And I would often write and repeat the same Bible verses and affirmations each morning. And I got a little bit tired of that, and so I started to do a little bit of doodling around that and a little bit of hand lettering around that. I had got a calligraphy set when I was very young, and so from there I was comfortable with handwriting and enjoyed my handwriting. I read a book called Steal Like an Artist, and also by Austin Kleon, and Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. And that gave me the confidence back in January 2016, to post on Facebook into a community that I was a part of. I was very new to Facebook. I posted 2 pictures of some hand lettering I'd done as part of my affirmations, as part of my Miracle Morning. And a lot of people liked it. They seemed to enjoy what I was doing. So I thought that was exciting because 10 people or 11 people liked it. Anyway, we started to talk and started to have a conversation. I said, well, you tell me your affirmation, send me your verse and I'll hand draw it for you. I'll sketch it out for you. Thinking that I'd get 3 or 4 people who might be interested in that. Well, overnight, I all of a sudden had 80 verses that people wanted me to sketch out. And I thought, oh no, I don't know if I can cope with all of that. Anyway, bit by bit, I would draw one, I would post it back to them, I would draw another one, post it back to them. And people sort of started saying, this is great, you should keep doing this. This is really exciting. And so I did. And eventually they said, oh, I would pay for this. You should put a book together. And I said, okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that's about. Anyway, somebody was in the community and said we wanted to do a book. I got involved in that and did a whole lot of drawings for the book. I've continued to learn how to do sketch notes and continue to practice my art. And now there is a copy of the book, The Miracle Morning, Art of Affirmations. So we launched that in September of last year. So from January of last year through to September, I did a couple of 100 illustrations and designs for that book. Many of them were rejected. They didn't like them. The editors or the people who were putting the book together, they didn't like them all. Some of my favourite ones didn't get put in, and some ones that I think, that did get put in. But that's okay. That's part of the process. Along the way, I learnt about verbal to visual with Doug Neal. And I've been a passive member of that community and becoming more active in that community to learn more about sketchnoting. And from there, I met Raven. And from Raven, I came on board with Sermon Sketchnotes and have, I guess, really been practicing my sketchnoting at school as a teacher. Sometimes I would use sketchnoting as a presentation tool, as a review and reflection tool. And from a sermon sketchnoting perspective, well, really it's about taking notes for myself. Another real big influencer in that early on was this character, Mike Roadie. He was one of the keys for me discovering, and in fact, the author of The Miracle Morning, Hal Elrod, I reckon he, on his podcast, interviewed Mike Roadie, and that's where I learned of Mike. And so then I've got his book, and it's just connected with me. It made sense. I used to write lots and lots of notes. I'd never go back to them, never explore them, never unpack them again. Even though there was gold in there, it never really resonated to go back. Whereas now that I've started sketchnoting, I'm much more inclined to go back and review my notes and enjoy my own notes. Whereas I wasn't doing that when it was just screeds and screeds of handwriting. It didn't resonate with me, so I never went back to it. Whereas now, because they're sketch notes and I enjoy watching them and looking at them myself, then I'm much more inclined to go back and tap back into the gold that's in there.
Cool.
There's a summary.
Yeah, it's really, really fun because you hit on a lot of things that I think a lot of us have kind of traveled similar paths as far as the introduction to sketchnoting, because everybody knows Mike Roadie. There's people that know who's a member of this group as well, and the Show Your Work, and what was the other Austin Kleon book?
Yeah, Austin Kleon, Show Your Work, and Steal Like an Artist.
Steal Like an Artist, yeah. But let's see. I want to show for some people that may not be familiar right away with some of the work you've already done, that I think this is an example of your sketchnoting. Do you remember what this was? Can you see it on your screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah, look, we had a speaker here at school just a couple of days ago, 28th of Feb, and I was sitting in the audience. I had invited this speaker to come in, and I was in the audience with the students, and instead of taking copious notes, he was from an organisation called Thank You. You may have heard of Thank You Water. I'm not sure if it's hit the States over there yet, but basically what they do is of the 7 billion people in the world, 1 billion of them are living in poverty, which means they're living on less than $1.80 per day. A silly product, bottled water, and yet we all use bottled water. They decided to turn that silly product, the sales of water, into something that would then make an impact. And so each of their projects, they send 100% of their products, 100% of the profit into a project around the world. So clean, fresh, hygienic water. They've now got some programs around health and hygiene, which basically they sell hand lotions and body lotions and hand wash, and then the profits of that go into hygiene projects around the world to support the 1 billion people living in poverty. So they were just my notes that I took while I was sitting in with the students just a couple of days.
These are live notes that you took?
Yeah. So I try and do things live because, to be honest, I probably wouldn't go back and do it. You know, I
right.
work on the next thing, and life in my world is very busy, and so I've got to do it in the moment. And I think it might have been Doug Neal who taught me through one of his programs about putting restrictions around what we do. And sometimes, in fact, it was Mike Roadie who said in his experience of having to go with a pen straight away, like a black ink pen, he put that limitation on himself, not to go in pencil and then come back over it, but just fully commit. And I fully committed and made a fully big mess for a long time. And, you know, you get better, you keep trying, you keep practicing. And to the point where now I don't do pencil, I just go straight in with ink. And I do it live. Not live in the sense that everybody can watch me doing it, but live in that it's in the moment, and I don't go back and rub things out or add things. I just go, right, that's what it is. They were the key things that leapt out at me. So that's what I need to take away with me. So, yeah, I try and commit to doing it live.
Sweet. I'm going to pull up some more of your images here. And this one I know from inside the Verbal to Visual workshop.
Yep. So this one, you know, like in that verbal to visual, sometimes we have a little exercise and you know, he might give us 10 minutes or 15 minutes and I hadn't done any of the pre-work to do this one. So I heard about it on the spot and basically trying to just flesh out, just brainstorm really what my code of ethics are, what are the important things in my life. And just really quickly to talk through this one is, you know, for me, people is at the center. And so from there, I want to be curious about people and listen to people and I want to make an impact on people. And I guess I'm open to that being mutually beneficial. Faith is an important part of my life and that is very much a journey that I'm seeking to grow. But I've obviously come to appreciate that anything that's worth doing takes an investment, takes time. My health is important. I need me time and.
Right. You just froze on my end. I'm not sure if you froze in the book. Online, on live. Yep, you're frozen. If you can still hear me, Paul, can you sign back out and in again? If that's how it may work for us. And for those people that are live and on group, let me see, can I do something else right here to get Paul back on the screen? We'll send him a message and let him know what's up. Yay for live. Okay, I think he's signing out and back in again. But what I can do while we're waiting on him to come back, because we've still got Rebecca here. Oh, wait, there he is. Woohoo. Oh, you're just
Sorry
a little.
about that. Are you still...
Okay. You're there, but you're just coming in and out now. All right. So, since we don't have Paul right now, what I want to do while we're here is share a little bit more of his work. I do want him to be able to tell us about this. But first things first, let's remember that he did end up illustrating this book, which I think is really awesome. And I got my copy, and you can get yours too on Amazon because it's cool. Yes, here he is.
Look at that. There you go. That's the book there on Amazon. Thank you, Raven. Nice filler there for a moment.
Okay.
So yes, look, I was just talking through that thing and about how I impact people and how I enjoy impacting on people. And it's interesting that sketchnoting is another way. It's a new way of connecting with people. And often my presentations, when I'm talking to students, whether that be a sermon or a short homily as part of our assembly, or even in class and teaching, that's live. Sketchnotes is a way to impact people even after the event. And I guess what I do often is I'll write some notes, I'll make some notes. There's one that I did in church the other day. And what they did actually just recently is somebody saw maybe over my shoulder what I was doing. And so I sent these to my church and they put them on their Facebook page as a bit of a review for other people. And I think as much as anything, it helps them to reflect some more on the message. Now, obviously, these are my perspective. These are my notes that were for me. And if they choose to, if it helps them to remember what it was about, then, that's a good thing as well. So these were just done in February, just, less than a month ago. And again, I was practicing on some new paper in a new pad. Once again, trying to limit myself, not to be too big, but like that's the book there that I use, the little, so if I can find them in here. So that's that's a picture there of the one you were just showing. So it's only that big. If I show you, there's my pen and my, it's only little, I suppose. But again, it just creates some boundary around and having to work within the constraints that I set for myself. It keeps it fun.
Can you tell us a little bit about the tools you choose to use? You just talked about paper and you showed us one of your pens. Because I'm going to say boat as Rebecca here. Rebecca commented that it was pretty hardcore for you to not use pencil and go straight in with ink.
Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca. And look, to be honest, this is just a trial. This is a recycled notepad. And I probably chose it because I like the color of it, which is kind of a bit of a khaki, gray, brown, recycled. So I like it because I like the idea of recycled, but the paper itself is really hard to work on. It's got bits in it, it's a bit chunky. And, the other thing that I'm using in here is sepia coloured pens. And I'm using sepia because I like the colour, but it's really hard to work on. So, I'll probably keep progressing while they're doing this series on that, and then I might try something different. For my regular journaling and my regular sketchnoting and even just my daily journal, I use this one's a Lectern, was it 1917 is the and so here I've just did a bit of a sketch note here this morning, and I just like the paper. I just use fine liners. There's no particular brand. Sometimes I use color. Sometimes I use black and white. I'm just trialing these ones. These are a Le Pen drawing pen at the moment. I'm just having a bit of a play with them. I'm not committed to a particular brand or anything like that. I just like trying new things. The current one that I'm exploring at the moment is a brush pen, and I'm quite enjoying just experimenting with the brush pen.
That's right, because your basis or your background's in lettering first, right?
I think so, yeah.
Calligraphy.
Yeah, so calligraphy for me was probably where it all began in terms of lettering and shaping the letters and really enjoying playing with the letters. When I was young, I received a calligraphy set for Christmas one year, and so I would just practice and practice and practice, and I would do sheets and sheets and sheets of the same letter over and over and over, and I loved I couldn't imagine doing it now, but at the time I loved it, and I would make invitations and I would write signs and I would put labels on stuff, and just because I enjoyed doing it, and I think that foundation has set me up for the handwriting and the sense of space and the sense of where things might fit well on a page. And so I guess really the stuff in the Miracle Morning, some of the lettering that's in that is really just a matter of placing the words in the right spot. I mean, it's not calligraphy. Well, it's not using a calligraphy pen. It's just using a fine liner. Calligraphy is the art of beautiful handwriting. And so we put patterns in and around it. And so it's really, for me, it's about the lettering and the shape of the letters. And now I'm exploring a little bit more, and the sketchnoting and looking at other people's sketch notes has opened up, it's opened up what I think is beautiful and what I think is attractive is when I look at other people's and go, wow, that's a really cool idea. And really it tells me when I look at other people's sketch notes, anything is okay. Anything is possible. Just give it a go, give it a try. And I look at it and initially I go, wow, that's really beautiful. I look in more detail and I go, wow, that's clever. And then if I look at it, I go, actually, there's a spelling mistake there, or there's a little cross out there. And that doesn't quite link up, but that's totally doesn't matter. If I look too closely at my own sketch notes, I go, oh, you see all your mistakes or the bits that you wouldn't have done that way. But I like to commit to doing it once and just doing my best. And so that's what I do.
Sweet. Rebecca has a question for you. She wants to know more about how you got connected with Hal Elrod, and she would just love to hear how that opportunity unfolded. I think you hit on a bit of that you put it out in your circle that you would illustrate other people's affirmations.
Yeah. So I guess I was getting a bit bored of just writing out my own affirmations morning after morning. So I started to play with it and started to draw for myself. And then it was Show Your Work by Austin Kleon. And so I didn't even know Facebook. The first two pictures, I put 2 pictures up. Both of them were sideways on my little screen. I didn't know how to edit them, to turn them around. They were just like hack. I got 5 or 6 or 7 or 12 likes, and I said to my wife, I said, people are liking it. This is exciting. You know, 11 people like it. Anyway, that built to 100 people to 300 people liking just those first 2 original pictures that I put on there. Just, you know, they were really basic. They were really simple. They were never meant to be anything. They were for me. But Austin Kleon said, show your work. And so I thought, I'll just put it out there. In that community, obviously Hal Elrod, the author and very successful author of The Miracle Morning, he's got people monitoring his Facebook group, and he's in there himself. He works in there himself. But he's got a following of, I don't know, there might be 30,000 people in that community. And from there, a couple of people who are in that community reached out to me, and I had a few phone calls and a few people interested in working with me or interested in helping me to pursue it further.
Can I ask you a question? Since, did you have any specific Miracle Morning hashtags you were using? Like, I wonder exactly how, was it just in your text you put it out? Because you say you just put the pictures up, and I'm wondering, like, they were just really good at monitoring and they saw Miracle Morning on the post you placed.
No, I didn't know anything about hashtags or how to get any traction on it. It was just a one post, you know, and no, I wasn't strategic about it. I wasn't doing it with a view of anybody wanting to do anything with it. It was just me showing my work, because in the Miracle Morning community, a lot of people would post affirmations, but they are ones that they might have got off Instagram or Pinterest. So they're kind of a beautiful photo with words over the top, and they're kind of pre-made, and they're lovely, and I was inspired by them, but I just thought, well, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that, so I'll draw my own. And so I think it was the hand-drawn stuff that they resonated with. And, you know, I had people saying, you know, I love these. Can I use it as my, I don't even know what it's called, but the backdrop on my computer screen, you know, on my iPad, when I open my iPad, it's the first thing I see to remind me. And I go, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, use it. That's fine. And that idea of, you know, I now know in terms of connecting with people, you need to give and give and give and give and give. And then eventually it might, and probably does, circle back and you get a little bit back. One of the people in that community was a client of Hal Elrod, meaning that she received coaching from him. She mentioned it in one of her upcoming coaching calls with him, and just said, you know, I reckon we could do a colouring book for the Miracle Morning. Hal has now got maybe 15 or 16 different titles to his name, all under the Miracle Morning banner. There we go. There's the Miracle Morning, and that's at a colouring party when I was just practicing with some of the different designs that I was making to see which ones were resonating with people, to see which ones we might include in the book. So yeah, those ones are in the book. And so no, look, it sort of might sound a bit like a fairy tale. It might sound a little bit like, you know, it was lucky, and maybe it was lucky that the right people saw it, but I think it was about Austin Kleon saying, show your work. I thought I'll show my work, and people liked my work. And so I just continued to give and give and give until, you know, they said, yep, we want to do it. It wasn't until probably February or March that they said, yep, this is going to be a book. And then by September, we had published it. So, and I was working, and I would work in the mornings because I had a full-time job. I was studying to complete my the ordination process and a Bachelor of Arts, a Master of Arts in Theology. And so I was studying at night and doing all that as well. I had a family with 3 kids. And so I'd get up early in the morning and I'd just grind away. And you know, I think the mornings for me are really important. So I would do my Miracle Morning because I was committed to that. And then I would create, you know, I would just do artwork and just keep playing with the artwork. And I learned about scanning it and sending it and the focus that needed to be in terms of the how many dots per inch or whatever that is on the scanner. So yeah,
I think, sorry, Rebecca asked a follow-up question. Did you share your images in the Miracle Morning Facebook group?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
All right. Rebecca, was that your question? I kind of paraphrased it a little bit. And I don't know when I want to show this picture because I think it was cool. To me, it was. I know you're at the beginning of your work day. You and your students. Or is your
Yeah, that's me.
So how do you I don't know how much time you have left, but I wanted to hear how you're using sketchnoting in if you're using it and then how you're using it. I know from our interaction in the verbal to visual community that you're working on a presentation using illustrations, but can you talk some on that?
Yeah, so that picture that you're showing there, that's one of our more formal assemblies. I don't normally have to wear a gown when I'm speaking, but I do not stand behind the lectern. I'm committed to getting out there and being interactive and you know, I move around when I speak. One of the ways that I'm using Sketchnotes at the moment is creating a video out of it. So for example, Christmas of last year, I haven't got the book with me at the moment, but I created a series of, about 12 different drawings, and I drew them in a book while I had the camera over the top. So it was a video. Then I got some other guys here at school to help me. They fast forwarded that video to when we played it back. The whole video, the whole Christmas story only went for about 2.5 minutes.
So it was a time lapse?
Time lapse, yep, time lapse. And so my hand was drawing it and we played it up on the big screen behind me. And as it was illustrating the story, not just pictures of the story, but I was drawing the pictures. And then I would narrate the story. So I was telling a room full of, what have we got, about 250 primary school students. I was telling them the Christmas story as part of my Christmas message.
Sorry, I had dogs down here at my feet. They wanted to be on camera too, or meet you. Say hey to Paul.
Hello there. The kids were watching the video. I was narrating the video and telling the story. And so that's one way of, I guess, not purely sketchnoting, but they were sketches. Another time I did a presentation and I had done the sketchnoting before I spoke. And then as the kids left, they got a copy, or they could take a copy of my sketchnotes of what I had just shared with them. And I've done that at church as well. When I've preached at church, I had some notes pre-done that I knew I was going to be covering in my message, and then had it as a takeaway as people left. And if they wanted to grab that afterwards, then they could. I also use it live in the classroom. You know, when I'm working with students in the classroom, when I've got a whiteboard in my room, and I just get my whiteboard marker out and I draw on the board, and then the kids often, when they're trying to recount the story, they will often have a go at drawing in a similar way to what I've just shown them is possible. Sometimes it's really important, I'm working with kids, to really simplify it so that they are drawings that they could really do themselves. And so often it's stick figures, it's shapes and circles and arrows across to this thing. A house is just a square with a triangle on the top. Right. To keep it really simple for the kids so that they go, well, I could do that too. I haven't specifically taught them how to draw a house, but by showing them, by demonstrating that, then, you know, that they can think, oh yeah, I could do that.
Great. So, can you tell me about your website you're working on?
Yes. I've got a domain, but I haven't put anything there yet. I haven't got it hosted by anybody yet. It's called handdrawntoday.com. So it's handdrawntoday.com, all one word. And my goal is to, I guess, have my book, the colouring book, available to sell there. I also, I'm at the moment, I'm exploring T-shirt designs. They're putting an affirmation and getting that printed onto a T-shirt or onto mugs or onto bookmarks or, you know, onto cards, that sort of thing. But that's all really early days. I don't know how that'll go. I don't know how I fit all of that in. I've got lots of really cool projects that I get to do here at school as well. So life's pretty busy, and this is just something I do on the side. Really, it's for myself. I donate proceeds from my share of the book. If we sell some books, I get a little bit of a share, and then I donate the proceeds of that to an organisation that I believe in here in Australia. It's called Prison Network, and so I try and support them through some of my sketchnoting work. And so any sales that I make is to really prop up that organisation, which really helps work with prisoners, women prisoners, female prisoners, mostly their families, because it's their families who miss out. Maybe mum made some poor choices. This organisation, we take the kids in to have fun with mum. So we set up programs. Sometimes it's craft, sometimes it's drawing, sometimes it's colouring, to spend time with their mum in the prison. So we take the kid into the prison to try and keep that relationship, that connection with mum. And then the organisation also supports mum in when they're released from prison, in helping them to connect into community. Sometimes with housing, sometimes with a church community. We connect them into a church community. We run Bible studies in the prison. We do sports activities to kind of build up connection and build up rapport with the women and trust. And often their families have given up, and society has given up. So we want to be that person who's prepared to go in there and be on the journey with them and hang in there with them when most of the other people that they used to rely on have fallen away. Try and get them into a new community, because the community they've come from often is why they ended up in prison in the first place. And if they just come out of prison and go back to what they know, then that repeat situation, we've got to try and break that cycle. So my sales from a lot of my work is just going into, I haven't made a big donation yet because I haven't sold very much stuff yet. But, that's the goal. And who knows, like I'm a big believer in start something, and even if it starts small, who knows what it might grow into. And one day, if
one thing it grew into.
Well, it has already grown into a book, and if we start actually selling some copies of the book, then I'll be able to make an impact on this organisation, which I believe in, helping these women to rebuild their lives when they need hope, they need someone to stick with them, and if I can be part of that, then that's a good thing.
Sweet. I know the Doodle Girls book, the Doodle Girl and Friends that Muddy. I think his name is Michael S. on here inside of our group, but from Verbal to Visual as well, they put together a coloring book not too long ago inside of their group.
Have they? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the Doodle Girl. I love her work. She's really cool. And it's interesting. I think she's one who does like digital. She works on digital platform in terms of like on an iPad or something like that, rather than. I mean, I'm in with pen in a book. I think she's much more using digital sketchnoting tools. That's an area that I haven't played with. I think I'd like to, but I'm still working on just getting the paper bit right. Maybe that's for down the track.
Yeah, and the next 2 weeks, it works out. Well, yeah, it works out really good. Next week, David Dial, the architect in our group, he's going to come on and talk about his process and sketchnoting and sermon sketchnoting in general. And his process goes from paper to digital a lot of times. And then after that, the Bible Doodle Girl, Victoria, is going to be on, and she's going to talk about her process, and hers is mainly digital. So
yeah, very much. Yeah, I love her work. She's really good. Yeah,
I'm pumped to be learning from everybody.
Yeah. Well, I don't know whether I've taught you very much, other than I would say just to probably put some restrictions around what you do. And like for me, commit to ink. Just do it once and you just get better at doing that. And the other thing I would say is to give, like share your work, show your work. And I'm not looking for fame or fortune. Anything that I earn by doing my artwork is off to another organisation to try and prop them up and help them. But church now is starting to see my stuff and they're wanting to share it. So that's good. If that helps other people to engage with the message a little bit more, then, that's good. One day I'd love to, go to a conference and be a sketchnoter, and that would be a cool thing to do one day. And if that gets me a ticket into the conference, good thing. That can be the payment. Commit to it, go with
Yeah.
ink, share your work,
Cool. I'm so glad. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I do want to remind everybody that they can get the Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations coloring book like I did on Amazon. And then it's Prime, so it's with you in 2 days. Even though our lovely Paul is in Australia, we won't have to make him pay to ship it all the way to us.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'll check and see if we have more questions coming up. I think Victoria Bible Doodle Girl is excited about your interest in doing digital work. And will share with us some of her things in 2 weeks, but she's very active like you are inside of the Facebook community. So we'll get to talk to her there too.
Yeah, great. That's very cool. I mean, I've still got more time if you want to keep going, but I also understand that, other people who are watching, they've got other things to go and do. At the moment, I'm here at school. It's 8:45 in the morning. At about 8:30, I have a group of parents who gather here, and I got them all set up before we started here. They're in our school chapel praying, and so they're praying for us right now. They're praying for our school community and a whole lot of stuff that's going on down there, and they know I'm going to be late, and so that's okay. It's all good.
If you have a little bit more time, I would love to hear your testimony and how you came to this calling to end up being a reverend and a chaplain and such.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like that could be like another hour. So
yeah,
I'd be interested
for
in
sure.
hearing.
It's a big story, absolutely, and maybe one day I should sketchnote it out. I haven't done that.
Ooh.
That could be a good challenge, couldn't it?
That'd be a good group challenge to sketchnote our testimonies.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. That'd be fascinating. We should share that on our Facebook group. You've got a week to do it. Put parameters around it. Go with ink, or if you're on digital, just get into it and do it. Look, the very short snapshot of it is I grew up in a Christian home and grew up going to church, every week with mum and dad, and that was part of our normal. And then I became a school teacher, and as a school teacher was really engaged. I'd never heard of a chaplain. I didn't know the role of a school chaplain, until I started my first job. On the first day I met the school chaplain, and I was curious as to what this was. And that's like a pastor in a school context. I was a teacher, and so I started to work with the chaplain and did some stuff on stage. And I guess I was committed to making the Christian message, the gospel message, engaging for young people. I'd grown up through church, and it wasn't always engaging, where I wanted to make it engaging and active and applicable to where the kids were. And so I just continued to push the boundaries on that. And sometimes the principal didn't like that, not in the message, not in the theology of the message, but in the delivery of the message. And so I would dress up, we would do puppets, we would swing in from, on a great big rope swing. I would do abseiling. I've done presentations where I've learned how to ride a unicycle, and I'd ride in on a unicycle. And, we've had fireworks in our hall and just doing crazy stuff just to try and engage and make those memorable hooks for students. And so, I got some traction on that, and people liked that. And then I started studying very soon after I started working. A mentor of mine said, it doesn't matter what you study, just go back and keep studying. You'll never have more time. Now, I wasn't married. I wasn't in a steady relationship. I didn't have kids. I was just a young teacher, and I just finished my studies. And he goes, get back in and do more study. I'm going, oh. But it helped with the whole notion of being a lifelong learner. As an educator, as a teacher, you want to be a lifelong learner. So I went back and started theology. I would just study at night after school. I just went to the closest place and just chose subjects that were on a night when I was available. There was no strategy to it. It was just get started. It took me about 14 years to finish. And I finished last year. I was just doing one subject a semester, just pottering along. And then as I got engaged in the ordination process, I felt a calling to really take my chaplaincy to another level in terms of the regard and respect that I would have, not only within our school community, but in the wider community. I think having that ordination, having Reverend at the beginning of your name, it kind of opens some doors for you. And I was interested in doing that. And not because I wanted letters before my name, but to give me more opportunity to invest and impact more lives. It just sort of opened the door a little bit. So I pursued that. That's about a 4 or 5 year process. That was very challenging and really helped me open up and dig deep on the inside. And it was around the time when I was exploring sketchnoting. So often I would draw my feelings, draw my journaling, draw my reflections. And so sketchnoting became a really powerful reflection tool for me. And I was in small groups and I would draw what we were thinking. And so, people were engaging instead of just writing notes.
You're doing a facilitation as well.
It was almost facilitation, yeah, without knowing what that was. And look, I love my job. I love being here as I'm a teacher. I teach religious education. I'm a chaplain, and so I journey with people. I run the Community Links program here, and so I drive the bus and I go and weed the garden with kids, and I go and sweep out the cobwebs, and we go to the local play school and we sharpen their pencils for them, and we do that sort of stuff, and that gives me the opportunity to work side by side with young people. Sitting down face to face with young people often is a bit confronting, whereas if I get we kind of shoulder to shoulder and we work together, we make a difference together. It's a great opportunity for lots of opportunity to chat with kids, and it's not catch them off guard. It's about kind of getting into their world and having conversations that kind of work for them. And here I am, I've been ordained for all of, I don't know, it might be 5 months. My world hasn't changed, but it does open up opportunities, and I'm excited to keep exploring them and seeing how I can be used to impact not only the people in my own school community, and through them, the wider community. And as I get more engaged with sketchnoting and sermon sketch notes, then maybe that impact can continue to grow, and through colouring books or products or whatever, maybe the impact grows, and look, why not? That's a good thing.
Sweet. I think that's how a lot of us in the group are ending up, is doing something for ourselves for enrichment, sharing it just out of joy, and sharing it sometimes fighting off a little bit of fear. Yeah. To share it, and then we learn from each other and realize that other people are picking up stuff from this as well. Yeah. So it's really awesome. I think it's from The Preacher's Wife, the movie about the difference between heaven and hell was a banquet where everybody had really long forks, and so they couldn't eat anything because the forks would never reach their mouth. But in heaven, they said, we have the same setup. We just sit around and feed each other.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
Yeah, so I see our group a lot is us just constantly learning from each other and growing. And then, when we actually read what each other is sketchnoting, it's like, whoa, even more.
and the stuff, again, I keep going back to the same book, Show Your Work, and that's what we're doing here in this community. Mm-hmm. And it takes courage to do that. There's no doubt. You've got to get over that fear of, it's not good enough. It's not going to resonate with people. And we just have to sometimes just be courageous and put it out there. And what I've learned is that there's so many different versions of sketchnotes. There's so many different styles, and each style in its own way is influential. It has an impact, and I'm learning to appreciate more and more different styles. And of course, we learn from each other. We feed each other, as you say, by looking at each other's and by sharing what we know and how we do it. And this is a great little community. I'm really excited to be part of it, and keep learning along the way too.
Sweet.
Very good. Yeah, they're the two books. They were very powerful for me. They're really cheap. They're cute little books. They're easy to. They're just really small, and he mixes some handwriting and a couple of illustrations along the way, but he's got a few illustrations, but there's some really good info in there. So I would be a strong advocate for Austin Kleon, Steal Like an Artist, which basically says nothing is original. We're all inspired by other things. Whether they be pictures that we might see on Facebook or Instagram or things in posters and that sort of thing. here in our community, we're not stealing in the sense of we're pinching other people's stuff and claiming it as our own, but we're influenced by each other. And that's what this book really is acknowledging. And then Show Your Work says, get in there and have a go. There he is. Look at him.
Yeah, I just remembered he was on part of the 30 Days of Genius with Chase Jarvis through Creative Live. And so, yeah, I think that's still available for free online to hear Austin speak.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to look that up because his books have been great. And I've listened to him on a number of podcasts. And, yeah, he's got a good message, I reckon. Just get out there and have a go.
Cool. All right. Well, I think we've exhausted things for right now, but I'm really glad that you gave your time and that this is going to be available for other people to watch, and that Rebecca chimed in. Rebecca, I don't know if you know this, she's got quite the library herself on Amazon of books and devotional books that she has written as well. So, didn't know there were so many authors floating around in here.
I think I might have seen that from Rebecca a little while back, and she's got some stuff. I did look. I'm sure it was her. I looked it up. I haven't actually purchased any of it yet, but I need to get back in there and have another look. I'll dig around. So Rebecca, if you're there, I'd love you to put something back on there. And what day is it, Raven, when we're allowed to kind of share our wares and promote stuff? What day is that?
It's on Fridays. Follow Fridays, so that'll be tomorrow. But
yeah.
If anyone in the community wants to contact Paul right away, you can email him at handdrawntoday@gmail.com.
Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not quick enough to throw it up on the screen, but handdrawntoday@gmail.com.
Very good. Hey, it's been a pleasure, Raven, to catch up with you and our community. And if this helps a little bit, that's a good thing. And if it helps a lot, then that's even better.
Sweet. And I see you tomorrow in Verbal to Visual community.
Yep, I'll be there. Oh, actually, I might not be. I'm doing an event tomorrow. I'm doing a Spartan race tomorrow. Do you know the Spartan race? Do you have them?
I know you're crazy. You're doing one of those things.
Yeah, we're having a go at one of those tomorrow. So I probably won't be there at Verbal to Visual.
Okay. All right. Well, have fun getting covered in mud and running for fun.
Apparently.
All right. Bye, everyone. I'll see you next week when we talk with David Dial, the architect that's in our group doing the fun things. Cool. All right. Bye.